Welcome to Inside the Firm. I'm here with my guest host, Alex Gore. How you doing today, Alex Gore?
Co-host Al Gore.
Ghost host. Did I say guest host?
Yeah. The first time I let you lead in, this is what you do to me.
Yeah, no kidding.
I am spent. Baby's been up the past 2 nights crying. We even took him into the Anyways, he just has a little infection in his little tiny baby throat, and everything's fine, but I'm tired, so I'm drinking coffee, and I got excited because of this podcast.
Awesome. So I'm Lance Cayko. I'm the other guest host. No, co-host. I'm the other co-host. First up, a quick apology for us not making last week's podcast episode. We got caught up with life, getting out of town. Every year we go up and sort of have a reunion with our college buddies from the architecture classes, and my brother hosts a fishing trip for us up in North Dakota. And so we did bring the audio equipment up there, but it just got out of hand, and we weren't able to.
We drank a lot. That's what he was trying to say.
Once the Bud Light hit the lips,
it just keeps coming. We didn't catch too many fish. We caught a lot of bud. We got a lot of sun. It was great. So sorry we couldn't get out there, but what was cool about this year, don't you think we talked shop more than any other year?
Yeah, that's what when we've been doing, I think we've gone on this fishing trip for 7 years now, and sometimes people can't make it, sometimes people can make it. But when we first started going on the trip, Alex and I were the only ones that were running a shop at that point. And that's not to take away from anybody else, but that's just the reality.
That's just because we got laid off. And then
Exactly. And they had jobs, different jobs. But over the course...
no jobs.
Yeah, or no jobs, exactly. But over the course of these 7 years, everybody has moved up in different areas in the architecture industry. All of our buddies are architects. So one guy is like second in command of a firm of almost 21 or 22 people out in Los Angeles, which is huge.
Yep, and he's pretty much going to get offered a partner level, which he should. He was the second person there, and it's grown to, I think they're at 15, 16 now, something like that.
No, I thought it was almost 20, but whatever.
It doesn't matter. Anyways,
matter.
That's bigger than 12 to me is... You're a medium-sized firm.
I think you're a medium-sized firm at that point. Yep, and you're dealing with large projects. So kudos to that guy. And then a couple other people have moved into just they're branch managers, right? So we're kind of all at the point now where we're finally all on the same business level, which is great. So we talked a lot of shop. Some other people too are just thinking about branching off on their own, which is pretty incredible. So asking us for advice, us just kind of telling everybody where we're going, and they're asking questions about what we do, because it's interesting, I think, all the way around about how all these other shops operate.
So I got a question for you, and then I have my own answer, but I want to hear what you say. So one of the guys, when Lance says branch manager, it's a big firm that has multiple different offices, and he runs one of the offices in one of the cities. So what do you think the best advice or thing that you gleaned off of talking from him was?
Oh, that we need to check exactly what we are profitability wise. It was a no-brainer for me. And honestly, it was more of we kind of just guessed off the fly, but I was like, why aren't we doing more metrics? Why aren't we checking in every quarter? Like, why don't we export all the hours that we spent on the project and double check and see where we're at, and constantly be updating like a spreadsheet or something? And I think what I have always thought is that it would take one of us a couple day effort. So, it might be like 3 or 4 days in a row where we're just going through everything and checking all the timers, seeing where we landed with stuff, and maybe we just start doing it and then build that way so it doesn't take as much time. But I don't know. We've grown so fast since 2013. It's hard to just take a breath.
So we're hiring 2 people that are coming in Monday. What if that's kind of the start of everything? And I don't know. We're switching from what's the timer that you use?
I don't even remember. Robert's timer. It's some guy, some engineer made it.
So what if we don't have to make this decision now? But what if Toggle has something where?
Well, QuickBooks does. So we use QuickBooks. And
but I mean, instead of us,
it's supposed to link to your projects.
Exactly. So instead of doing 3 to 4 days of compiling different people's timers and doing stuff, what if we figure out a program and we just do a review and say, give us everyone, let's look at everything. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that be the way to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the thing about it is we did have a profitable year last year, so we know the ship is running. We know it's running in the right direction, but it's just like, do we know pinpoint exact direction, navigation? What is happening? I think we have to make that transition. So for me, that was the big thing. That was one of the big things I got from it was they have, so at this firm where our buddy is a branch manager, they have quarterly meetings. I mean, and they're at a corporate level too. Like this other firm is 100 people strong, right?
Yeah.
But each of these branch offices are about the size of us. Well, not each of them, but some of them are. Like they're
some are smaller, some are bigger.
Yeah, but plus or minus, you're around 7 people plus or minus.
Yep.
So I thought it was a good metric. Like, oh, they do it for theirs. That makes sense.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I got 2. One, the firm is actually really good at design, and they have a design team that comes and checks. Because do you remember this part? So I asked, hey, how do you keep up that standard? Because there's other firms that are almost just as big up in Fargo and all around North Dakota, and they're just terrible. And I go, is it just like do you just hire the right people, or what is it? They have a team that's dedicated that will come look at your project, give you advice. And if you know that in the back of your head, you know what I mean? That's a big thing.
Exactly.
And actually one of our buddies, another buddy that couldn't make it, is on that team.
Because he's a phenomenal designer.
Yeah.
I mean, just skilled to the hilt.
And he won't listen to this, so he will never know that we complimented him.
It's true. Second thing?
So that was great. And then the second thing was, this is, again, going back to fundamental advice. So we didn't do what I'm going to say because when we started, we weren't licensed architects, right? So we basically just did homes, which you can do in additions. And we asked him, how do you get work? And he paused and thought about it. And they're a big firm, so a lot of people know about them, and they respond to requests for proposals, and that's pretty straightforward. But he goes, when I came into town and we started this branch, I got the newspaper and then read the newspaper.
That's why you asked that the other day.
Yep, and then figured out who was in charge. And then he was literally new to town, so he said he'd meet with him and say, hey, I'm the branch manager or office manager of this firm here. I'm new in town. I'd like to meet you and just say hi. Again, that zero expectations, just going in. So, and what's great is, because they're doing schools and big projects, and now that we're licensed and stuff, hey, we want a project for a school. Well, have you gone and talked to them? No. It seems kind of stupid, but I bet you there's a lot of people listening.
Hey, how about this? Do you remember right after I got licensed, I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go around to each school and we're going to offer to do as-builts for free. And then that way we already have them talking about expansion because the elementary school that my daughter's at right now, they basically, they needed extra classroom space. Guess what they did? They put a modular house, so that was the idea, but we never followed through. I never followed through.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
Shame on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that if you think in your head, what kind of work do you want to do? And then say, have you gone and talked to the person that will give you that work? Phone call? I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of us. Making fun of everyone.
I know. It seems so simple. It's stupid, right? Yeah. It's so stupid. It's simple. The other thing that this reminded me of is just like what I really like about that trip is it's a general sense of camaraderie, right? So that everybody... You go up there, you get a really good feel good. They're all your buddies and stuff like that. But I feel like it's a mini fraternity for all the good reasons, right? It's just like this brothering thing, right? Yep. So I was joking with one of our buddies that I feel like that's kind of what we created at F9 so far. It's this mini fraternity where it's fun to come work every day because there's a lot of jokes, a lot of laughs.
Yeah,
and we work hard, we play hard. So. Wondering, what do you think about talking about a little bit how like the ways we try to set that up at the firm, like to foster that culture?
Know what? I don't know because honestly, I'm not on the same page as you with that because I think we literally just find the best people, have them be our TAs, and then try to hire them, or our employees know people from school or whatever and recommend them. And I mean, we have our own vetting.
Well, how about this? Every Friday. Right, we do a lunch. I think that's huge alone.
And because we're not strict bosses, and we make jokes. So I think that helps it too. So now everyone can make jokes, and no one takes anything seriously. And yeah, I mean, on that department, we take what we do seriously. So I guess, and know what this goes back to. And I don't know if you're going this way too.
No, just
but
asking.
We've been in other firms talking architecture, talking Revit, selling Revit furniture, all that. and they're just dead inside, and we just never want to get that way. And maybe that goes back to like, we're always trying to do a fun project, we're trying to branch out. We realize that emotion and purpose, like that has something to do with how well you do at work.
Yeah, we try to play to people's strengths. I think that's a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Give them the kind of work that plays to their strength and allows them to excel.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely paramount.
Yeah,
For sure. So, okay, cool. So the last episode also of the podcast, one of the things we talked about were different kinds of proposals. So I just kind of want to retouch base on that, because I promised that I would talk about it. So I put up a poll on the EntreArchitect community, and I asked, how is your typical proposal structured? Because, so for anybody who didn't listen to the last episode, what happened was we went after 2 commercial projects, and in both projects, we did fixed fee proposals. We generally do fixed fee proposals. So these other firms came back, competing firms, and one did like a really low ball fee, and then everything was hourly on top, totally confused the client. And then the other one was sort of this range of fees. And so I was just, as a guy who can't sleep unless problems are solved, because it just eats at me, I had to ask the question and see how many people. I even asked our buddies up in North Dakota on the fishing trip, and the guy who runs a branch managing office, he's like, "Oh no, fixed fees all the way." And I explained what happened with the other proposals, and he goes, "That seems dishonest. That seems completely dishonest." And I agreed, obviously. So here's how the numbers break down. 19 people said fixed fees only, and we were included in that, obviously. The next one up was hourly until schematic design is complete, then fixed, then hourly for CA, and that was 10 people. I actually like that kind of a structure. What do you think about that?
Which one?
Imagine if you did a house,
Yeah.
and it was hourly during schematic design, and when do you say like schematic design is over?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then after that's done, then you say, okay, here's what it's going to take to do CDs.
Yep. Do you know who does that?
No,
Gary.
Frank Gary.
Because he, it was in one of his documentaries. Someone was asking him how they structure fees, and then he goes, "I don't know how long it's going to take to hit that idea." It's like, I have no idea whether it's going to hit tomorrow or whether it's going to hit 8 months from now. And then it goes, after that idea, then you can go and do it. What in our little world, because we aren't, I think we do some really good design, but we aren't sitting there making, I don't know,
we're not Frank
origami craziness and
crumpling up paper, throwing it. There's a building.
Exactly. But so it's more flexible with, it really depends on the client, because sometimes they can be super picky. Sometimes they're
and you know what?
And it might be more fair to them, even though they might not like it.
Well, so when I brought this up, let's just call, when I brought this up to one of our friends, the guy who runs runs that branch up in North Dakota, he goes, he thought first it was knee-jerk reaction and what I already said about, being ethical and stuff. Then he thought about it for a little bit, and he goes, well, actually there was this one client that insisted it be hourly. And he said this client had no clue what the heck they were doing. And in the end, after we finished the project, their conclusion was, thank God that it was hourly, because they would have lost their butts on the project.
Do you want to, well, we could try this out and let people know. What if it was hourly / what if that schematic design was within a range? Because they're going to want to know a number to it.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
You know what I mean? Say, okay, it depends. Because then you get that benefit of, oh man, we think we're very quick. We think we make great decisions.
I don't know. It still bugs me that there'd be like,
I just don't know who's going to buy it.
I just know what it takes to get it done at this point. Like, we get it done now. I've done enough of them. I know, I don't know, for me anyway.
You mean
unless
you mean quick decision makers and all that?
Quick decision, just a house, just a custom house. I mean, yeah. I kind of know. There's I have typologies in my head. We get the people that say like, I want a cabin. I want it to be this eco-efficient cabin. Okay, I know what it's going to cost. Okay, I want a big suburban house. Okay, I know what it's going to cost.
Yeah, but what about our friends up in South Dakota who kept going back to the drawing table? You just had enough padding in there, or just ate some?
No, we ended up okay on that project.
Yeah,
it was still profitable.
Yeah.
Here's where I think I would be comfortable with it. It would have to be a brand, like a new clientele that we've never had. Okay, so this would be projecting like 5 years into the future.
Yeah, so let's say tomorrow. Let's make it happen.
Let's say they see the doomsdaydwellings.com project,
love it,
right? And then they say, I love the Genesis, but I want something even more Genesis.
More Genesis.
And they start talking all these crazy, all these crazy
the rocket
ideas.
to go. It's Elon Musk. We're going into space.
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
If he doesn't have a rocket under his house to go into space,
What is he doing with his life?
No one knows.
What is he doing with his life? Yeah. Then I'd be open to that proposal.
Okay.
I just think it's got to be like this very high How about this? Is it Matt Parker and Trey Stone?
Yeah, when they call us.
Yeah, when they call us, the creators of South Park, to create their awesome doomsday houses up in Colorado, because I know they're going to shout out those guys.
Let's hashtag.
Yeah, then that's the kind of proposal I would structure for them. Maybe
I
don't know.
It's a plan.
Yeah. So back to it. Then there was 4 people that said a hybrid proposal. I actually don't know what that means. Range of fees for each phase, percentage of construction. This is what blew me. And then the last one was small base fee, then hourly. After that it is used up. So one person. So that's the funny thing. The conclusion was, we were second guessing ourselves. Is our fixed fee proposal in the minority? Nope, it's in the majority. What is actually in the minority is the small base fee that gets a client through the door. In my world, it's tricking them, and then you're hourly on top of that, and you're not giving a business owner, or I guess it could be a homeowner, but like a final number from the get-go that they can plan for. So yeah, that's what I got for you with that stuff.
Cool, very nice. All right, what's up next?
I think we are gonna hear from Old Man River.
No, let's do actually inside the firm shop talk before we go to Old Man River. Okay. You need a mouse, my friend.
You know what happened was I used a snippet tool there, and then it wouldn't work. Oh yeah, inside the firm shop talk. So we're hiring 2 new people.
Yes.
Actually, new old person.
Because
old new.
Yeah, because he worked through school with us.
Yeah, he was just part-time.
Yeah.
So now we're hiring him full-time.
So coming in, I think there's 2 new people, and then the other 2 people that we have are relatively new.
Yeah.
It's not like our original employees. So I don't like the word orientation. I think that seems weird. Like,
why?
Just because
too much army, reoccurring bad army memories, getting yelled at. Is that why? Honestly,
no. I think it was Leapskin.
Oh, you had an orientation?
No,
there's no way you had an orientation at that firm.
Well, we did, but know what it was? The
Beer?
guy was telling us where all the cool shows were and stuff like that.
Oh, just for New York.
Yeah, it was orientation to New York.
Yeah.
He's like, no one does this, and I think it's important. And I thought, like, I don't know. I thought we were going to get something real. And I was like, we work all the time. What do you think? Time to go to the shop. Anyways, I want to know what you think about this. So I actually, on Monday, want me and you, and then to sit the 4 guys down.
All of them.
Yep. And go through some of these points. See if you want to add on, change, whatever.
Oh, you got some points.
Yeah. So the first one is F9 philosophy. And I'm going to describe it to you and not show it to you because you act like you're the listener, right?
I am the listener right now, sir.
So make a 4x4 square in your head.
Okay.
And then on the vertical side, on the bottom of it, put shallow. And on the top, profound.
Put shallow and profound.
Yep.
Okay.
And then horizontally, on the one closest to you, put simple. And then on the other one, put complex.
Okay.
Right? So there's these squares, and it's how you can think about what you do, right? So the shallow and simple is not what we want to do. That's like reality TV, right? We do it, but it's not helping your life.
Weren't you on reality TV, Alex?
we are. Exactly. We do it, but it's not really helping anyone, right? Then there's shallow, but it's complex. And that makes me think of government rules. Like there's, hey, make sure you dot this, make sure you do this. It's stuff that doesn't really matter, but it's very, very complex, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's simple and profound. And that's where we want to be. We want to boil everything down to its essence, right? Yeah. But we want to simplify it so it actually works. Doesn't mean that we can't be, make complex, but that's where the rationale and that's how you make decisions, right? Goes through.
Okay.
Then there's complex and profound. And that's like quantum mechanics. So it's, like craziness. And we'll just leave that off. So just in a mindset, right? Oh, and here, I'll show you what it looks like, Lance.
Did I draw it wrong?
You did draw it wrong.
Oh, I'm terrible. Oh,
you
like
see
that.
Yeah, we'll put this up on the website.
So then you put F9 in one of the boxes.
Yep.
You want us to be simple and profound. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah. But simple, I would almost use the word like elegant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Frank Lloyd Wright, I know, think of big architecture. Think Frank Lloyd Wright. Like think of Kahn. It's simple, but it's profound.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys.
Yeah.
So just a quick talk about that, because when you're making decisions about what to model or what to do, or I think you can think about that and be, okay, is this complex and shallow? Well, let's not do it. If it's complex and profound, we're probably not getting paid for quantum mechanics level thinking. You know what I mean?
I do.
So that's where our mindset needs to be.
Yeah.
Yep. So the second, that was category 1.
Mm-hmm.
Category 2, F9 principles. Okay. Number 1, model like it gets built.
Yeah.
Right?
This is a no-brainer.
Yep. And then point A to that is when you make it, dimension it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's just to reiterate to everyone. You made a wall, better be dimensions on it. You made a window, there should be dimensions on it. Number 2, deliver complete sets. So if I say, hey, I need a floor plan with windows and doors and the kitchen, everything in it, then what that really means is, please put it on a sheet. Please put a window and door schedule. Please tag. If I ask you for doors and windows, if you put in doors and windows, I think you should label it so people know what they are. It takes you 5 seconds more to do that.
Can I pretend like I'm the employee here?
Yes.
And this is me kind of regurgitating or reiterating some, not complaints, but just some feedback that we've both gotten in, like a yearly reviews and stuff like that. Is that some people have said, I wish if you guys, they've kind of critiqued us and said how we've done a really good job with giving them direction and kind of a poor job where we haven't laid out exactly. So when you talk about complete sets, that's a whole different array for a lot of different people, right? Yeah. So my suggestion there would be, or my idea would be, like, I've wanted to do this for a while, would be maybe over the weekend I should find a good schematic design set, a good DD set, and a good CD set, and we talk about them, and then put them up on our
projector,
on our projector, but also on the server, so people can just refer to them at all times.
You're reading my mind.
Oh, good, you're already there.
So, and then number 3 is learn from examples. Wow.
Okay. Awesome.
So then the next header is resources. So then I have a place for where the files are. So we should make a folder, right? And not only should we do those 3 levels, then we should do, hey, here is an addition example, just a CD set maybe for those. Here's a new house example. Here's a commercial building example. Here's a tenant finish example, right? So just a folder everyone can go into, and it's not going to be in the admin. It's going to be where they can get it, right? And then give them the link, because we'll give them the sheet to where all of our example videos are. And then give them a link to where our files are. Okay. So, and then actually I want to bring up the lift, because I don't know if you even remember, not only do we have all those families, we placed like furniture in groups. So like if you want a sofa or a sofa with like 2 chairs, you can just literally, I made this years ago. And
go to groups and place it.
Yep. It's right there. Okay. Then next category is expectations. Okay. So I just have a couple points. Hours, 8 to 5, 40 hours a week, and then that's where we don't really have overtime. Maybe if we're on a construction site or something like that, we'll talk about it. We'll do overtime. And then 90% billable rate.
That's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a goal.
No, but Jason asked me a while ago, because they don't know, like, how billable should I be?
Yeah.
And especially for them. And then the last one is take notes on projects. So I want to eliminate where I'm reviewing stuff and see something weird and someone says, oh, I meant to tell you about that.
Can you put something else in here too?
Yeah, that's
respond to all emails.
There we go.
That's been happening lately.
Okay.
Where I send an email and I go, did you get that? Like later in the afternoon. Oh yeah, well, let me know. Because I can't concentrate on anything else until you've done that.
Yep. So
that's your idea for orientation. Cool.
What? There's one more.
Oh, one more.
That's it.
Have fun?
No. Another 2-year personal goals or professional. I could change it to professional. I didn't do 1 year because honestly, I think that's too shallow. I think 3 years is too long.
So what's the idea behind this? You'd ask everybody, or everybody should start thinking about them?
So I have a couple examples and then a couple blank ones.
Okay.
Because I think if you have that purpose and I think it applies, and this goes back to like one of my biggest mistakes in the Army was I had that in the beginning and just skyrocketing, just kicking butt, taking names, and then transferred bad unit and just like kind of plateaued and stayed there until the last couple. So we all have this potential, and that potential I think gets fueled by purpose sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So these are my examples, but there's a little checkbox. Like if you agree with this, check it. I want to manage my own projects. Mm-hmm. I think that's huge. So you put yourself in that mindset. Number 2, I want to be comfortable in the field. So if you have to go to a job site, you know. Number 3, I want to design / contribute / create one project where for literally the rest of my life, I'll be proud I was a part of it. So like the tiny houses, I'll always be proud that I helped design and make those.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 blanks. It's that you can write your own.
You just write your own.
And then welcome to the firm.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll hand this out.
Yeah.
And then they'll give them back at the end. And then we'll put them in their personal, in our folder, our professional, corporate, personal folder. No?
Well, shouldn't they just have them?
They could just have them too. Yeah. No, that's what I'm asking you. I'm just asking you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they should just have them.
Cool. This is awesome. When did you think of this?
A couple days ago.
Wow. Look at you. In between not sleeping from the baby.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been making jokes, just silly jokes, the last 2 days. And have you ever heard you listen to Joe Rogan where they say they used to stay up late at night because they'd get goofy? And I've just been telling Annie the goofiest, dumbest jokes ever. I'm like, I am so hilarious, tired. Just 2 days of tiredness.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Cool. So one other thing I was going to do is I was going to send out an email at the end of the day and say, hey, we're looking for you guys forward to you guys on Monday, and just tell them some basic stuff. Gresh already knows this stuff, but like one of the questions Mark had was, do I need to bring my own computer? No. This is a firm. We have everything for you. You're a full-time employee. Stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah. Can you add dress code in there too? I'm not saying we should have a dress code, but I like to encourage business casual now, except for like Fridays, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Because we get a lot more clients in the office than we used to. I mean, you've had people in and out. You have more people coming in today.
Yeah, but
what are you doing? What are you doing? Conducting business?
That's going to be weird because if I've been having so much, I've been dressing up every day. And if there's a random Tuesday where I have nothing,
I kind of like that too. Where I'm just like, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, let's go back.
Okay.
And know what? The guys don't dress bad anyways.
No, nobody does.
Yeah.
Honestly, you and I probably dress the worst.
Hilarious.
I'm serious.
Bravo. Yeah. Too funny.
Okay. Cool. Are we on to best and worst advice via Old Man River, a.k.a. Keith Gore?
Keith Gore, my dad has his best and worst advice. He was really high up at IBM. Basically, how the structure works is there's the CEO, all that, and then there's VPs of each division, and then he reported to the VP. He used to run, as best as I know, as he explained it, so every part, every computer, and every good idea has a number to it at IBM, and they have to keep track of all that.
Interesting. So
that's I think he had 12 to 40 people under him, depending, flexible for 20 years. So we're gonna pause it halfway because he talked for 6 minutes straight.
It's an awesome 6 minutes straight.
It's awesome,
so we're gonna pause after the best advice, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know which one's first.
Well, maybe, yeah. So we're going to pause after one of the pieces of advice.
Yeah.
And then we're going to react, and then the second piece, we'll do the same.
Here we go.
We'll be back.
Hey, Alex and Lance, Old Man River, checking in from the cabin. Doing the follow-up on your examples for some good advice and bad advice. And I thought when I first heard you guys bring this up in your podcast, it was surprising how kind of 2 memories came up very quickly. And so I'll start with the bad advice, and it starts with the aspect of kind of how just about any of us can tell and encourage people to speak up. And when I was working for IBM, and people in the teams I managed and led, I had always told everyone, hey, let's speak up. If you see something wrong, let's address it, get it visible. Speaking up is a lot better than not speaking up. Now, the bad news was, if you really don't go any further than that, you can get yourself in trouble, which is what I found myself doing sometime later. And that's the point of the bad advice, is I actually had a situation where there was kind of a conflict between the organization, the teams I was leading, and we were in conflict with a group out of corporate, and long story short, I guess I would say I was frustrated with the way this executive was dealing with things. I thought he wasn't listening, understanding how what they wanted to do wouldn't work, was going to be a problem, an issue. And most likely, just out of my frustration, I thought it would be best for me to send him an email pretty much, shooting down their actions and proposals, probably pretty close to a chastising type of action. And I was actually so confident in my point of view at the time, I thought, well, I'm going to even copy his VP just so they knew how serious the issue was and how I wanted to make sure it got addressed. Well, he got my email. It all worked its way through, but after that had unfolded, it was more of myself and my team. We ended up winning that battle, but in the long scheme of things, we lost the war because we had ongoing conflict and difficulty with that corporate team for a few years after the fact. And as I saw my action at that one time unfolding, I quickly realized what was happening in the longer scheme of things, which I didn't take into account. And I said, nope, I'm not going to do that again. That was something I wasn't proud of. I didn't think that represented the character I wanted to be as a man, as a manager, as an executive. And so I had shared that story with my team and encouraged them, hey, let's think about what we're doing, understand the ramifications. There's things to be done publicly, and then there are things to be done privately.
And we're back.
So what did you think? Or you want me to go first?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I thought that was a very your dad had a great cadence, honestly, just speaking about it. So it instantly made me instantly related to what happened to me earlier in the week about including certain people on emails and not. And how, here's the thing about emails that I think everybody needs this reminder, because I think we forget how cold they are. They are so freaking cold. So the other night after work, I got an email from a contractor, and his email came off cold to me in that he said, Lance, here are some corrections we need made. We were rejected from the building department today for submittal of the drawings. And
it could have been just factual.
It was just factual.
Yeah, you're tired.
Yeah. And so it was the end of the day, and I shot back with an email right away and broke one of my rules, which is sit on an email overnight, email it in the morning. It's not worth it after hours. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I said is thanks, I'll take a look at these in the morning. Some of them fall into my court, some fall to yours, some fall to the owners. And then my last question to him was, how many building permits do you pull in Denver? And then he said, he wrote back, said 3 or 4. And then he said, how about you? How many do you do? And I said, well, about a half a dozen a month. And then he said, I said, have a good night. And after that, and then the next day I got a nasty email from the guy with a little bit of cursing in it and stuff like that, and said,
he slept on it, but he brewed on it.
Yeah. So I got it at 6:45 that next morning, and it was, he did not appreciate me that comment put out in front of the client. So I broke two rules. So that's why it relates to exactly what your dad just said, is be careful who your audience is when you reply back. So what I immediately did is I knew he was up. So everybody was asleep in my house. I was drinking my coffee. I called him immediately when I got that email. I said, hey, I just want to clear the air here and let you know that I was just asking that question. It was not a comment. And you're right. Maybe the owner shouldn't have been a reply all. And I apologized. And then everything smoothed out after that. But again, it came off cold because it was there's no emotion in that email. There's nothing whatsoever. I mean, I could have put a smiley face. You don't put smiley faces in emails, right?
And that would have seemed dumb too.
That could have even been worse, actually.
Exactly.
It could have even been worse. So then after I explained myself, he understood, and he says, oh, well, I guess I understand why you asked that question. And the reason why I did ask the question is because there's so many people moving into Colorado there's a lot of people who haven't been through the building process down here yet. And so, if you're moving from a place where you can get a building permit with a napkin sketch and you're coming down here, I don't know, we're like mini California at this point. Like there's a lot of regulations and stuff you have to follow specifically on the construction drawings, like Alex has talked about with fonts and line weights and all that kind of nonsense. So, so anyway, I think that's brilliant, good, bad advice.
Yeah.
Or just a story, to relate it.
Where I was going with that too is I've almost brushed off like someone criticizing me or yelling at me or anything like that, because who are you gonna? I don't have a boss. Who you're gonna copy Lance? Like it doesn't matter. And it actually came from when we were harassing some of our friends a couple of years ago, sending them faxes, and we couldn't get in trouble because but I think that when my dad said chastising, just imagine if we did have a boss and you got chastised in front of your boss, and that almost leads that other person to have contempt. That's where my mind went. And if you've listened to any relationship advice or whatever, and I think it's that idea is just out there, and the idea is contempt kills. When you have contempt for someone else, especially your spouse or your husband, that's what really kills a marriage. Because you can be angry, you can be mad, you can have fights, that's okay. But somehow, if we had the definition of contempt, it goes down to death. And like what Dad said is he won the battle, but it's gonna brew in that guy.
Oh,
it's gonna brew,
and then it's gonna be a fight forever.
And especially in a corporate culture where these clients will be one and done a lot for us.
Yeah. So to relate it back to my story then, right? The building process is a war, right? I think the battle is the little things like, we poured the foundation, or we successfully submitted the drawings. Then we finally got the permit. Like there's all these little battles. So that's why I felt it so necessary to call this guy right away. We've never worked with this contractor. Like I do not want to go through a building process with a contractor that just hates us, going to throw us under the bus. Like there's all kinds of liability and stuff with what we do, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like we got back on the same page and there's no war anymore. Long term.
I've been running into that a little bit because I have a contractor who decided to use a different structural than what we started the project.
Structural system?
No, engineer.
Oh.
Yep. And then I've been getting an email back from the client saying like, okay, we need this structural question answered or and we want you to handle that. And basically I've had to say, and it was riding this fine line because the contractor was on the email too. Once that contractor decided to use another structural, this is such a small project. I will not use 2 structural engineers.
Oh my God.
And you shouldn't anyways on a project because then there's overlap. What if someone misses something?
Yeah.
So I was like, is this kind of throwing him under the bus or not? But, and I did word it nicely, but that's the structural engineer now. The contractor made that decision because it was done without me. A letter was signed and it was sent to the city. Okay, that's the guy. I hate.
End of story.
And end of story.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. They could be brewing. They could be mad at me. It could be seen like I threw him under the bus because he told me that, and then I said, "Hey, it's my recommendation, and I think we should just go with that engineer now."
Yeah.
So it's sort of like.
So how much do you think a phone call helps though? I feel like there's like a 2-step process that we maybe could be helpful for everybody moving forward in the future as we get more digital. Is email plus phone call, email plus phone call. And to relate this back to our buddies and talking shop, that's what the guy who runs the branch who's a branch manager up there is. He says, I said, how do you? We were talking about proposals and how he presents them and stuff. And he says, what I'll do is I will email it and immediately call him or her, whoever the client is, and say, hey, just sent you over the proposal. And he said what it does is then all of a sudden it kind of relates it right back to
a person. It's personal.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So it links the whole process together.
This is awesome. I'm gonna give that client a call if I have any time.
Alex is slammed today.
Meeting after meeting after meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're on to part 2.
Here we go.
Okay.
Which then led to an event probably a good year or 2 after that, which ties into the good advice, which I ended up taking myself. And it unfolded as such where I had an opportunity. I was talking with my manager at the time, and it was basically all the issues and challenges we were dealing with. And as we were closing, he asked me if there was any concerns or issues or things he could help me on or should be aware of. And I thought, well, this is a good time to do it. It's a private dialogue. It's just he and I in his office. And I just shared with him about the difficulties that we were having. And yes, as he was leading meetings and with myself and my peer managers, his extended staff, and very often it was his use of swear words or language that I just thought really wasn't needed or valid for a professional environment. So I told him, I said, I understood that we got challenges, but I thought we were professional, and if he could, I would just appreciate it if he could, tone down, eliminate, or at least reduce that language, because I just thought it didn't help. It didn't really represent what we should be trying to do as executives in IBM. And again, another long story short, we talked a little bit about it, but he agreed. He said, yep, you're right. I really don't need to do that, and I'll work on it, was his type of a response. And I noticed then in the weeks and the months and actually the few years after that, as I continued to report to him, until we had reorganized later. But occasionally we would have a meeting and some frustrations would arise and swear word would come out, and he would stop, look across his team, and I'd be there, and he kind of would look at me and he'd say, oh, everyone, sorry about that. Really don't need to say that. But I could tell as he was looking at me and saying that, he remembered our conversation, and I at least was appreciative that he was trying to address and change things because he appreciated what I had shared with him. And we actually, for all our time, had a good relationship, never came up as an issue or concern. I appreciated what he was trying to do. I think he listened to my point of view. And it all boiled down to is we all can give advice, but even giving, let's call it a sliver of advice, may have good intentions, but if you don't really put things in the right context, we can either lead ourselves or lead others astray. So that was just a couple of examples from my work history. Advice is always a great thing to get, being cognitive of the bigger perspective, looking at the type of person that we want to be, and how we will reach out, act, interact, listen, etc. are all just things to factor in. So Lance and Alex, I thank you for letting me send you these few words. I hopefully touched on all the aspects sufficiently, and I'll be curious to hear in your podcast some kind of reference back to this and any thoughts or comments or follow-up that you guys have. So thanks again. Keep up the podcast. I think they're really great, and I appreciate you guys sharing your experiences for others to gain insight on. Take care. Old Man River, signing off from the cabin. Catch you later. Bye.
Your dad is the best.
Yes, he is. I could tell some stories.
We should make him a shirt that says Old Man River, or like a hat or something like that.
It's going to happen.
OMR, hashtag OMR.
Yeah. Yep. On it.
That's great. It's great.
So what I got from this is kids. So kids swearing, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes
Cool.
It's cool. It's awesome. If a kid stubs his toe and he says a swear word, sometimes it's hilarious, but you go, oh, don't say that, right? And Joe Rogan actually talked about this because Joe Rogan swears, and your kid can get in trouble for school and swearing. So
Right.
what do you say? Because honestly, I think it all comes down to context, and he talked about context. And when you're in a professional role, especially at IBM, it's more corporate, or in a leadership role, I almost think toning down the swearing is necessary, because in that context, it's probably not appropriate, because other subordinates might not know when and where to use it. Because I think swear words are fine between friends. Friends out fishing, doing whatever. I actually don't have a problem with it whatsoever. But it's just like with little kids. If they're out running in your backyard, find a dirt pile, someone gets hit in the eye with a dirt ball and swears, and it's just their buddy, it's okay. Or if they call them like, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
But then here's what kids don't know is you don't know if there's other kids around or whatever. You don't know how they're going to take it. You don't know who they're going to tell. So literally it has to be reduced down to friends. And since they don't have that control, that's why like they get nixed. You just don't say it. You just don't say it.
Yeah.
And then when you get older, you're able to say it, and then it almost bleeds. It might bleed too much in. So sometimes from contractors, I'll hear swear words, and a lot of times it's like, that's not necessary. Like, and it's not at anyone.
Don't you think it discredits people at a certain level?
Yeah.
When you get into certain contexts, I think it just discredits you.
Yep.
But it's a fine line, like you're saying. It's a fine, because I think sometimes it is merited to literally just grab people's attention,
Yep. And then the other part is that sometimes contractors, I can think of one, are hilarious and your buddies and you've done 8 projects for. And if this guy's where it's like your buddy talking. Like there's a different.
Yeah.
So I think overall at a higher level, maybe you should limit it so that it doesn't get out of control, because swear words are for friends for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Effing friends.
Effing.
All right. Thanks again, Keith. Really appreciated you sending in your bit of advice there. That was a solid 6 minutes. We should have you in again sometime for some other reason. I can't think of anything right now, but your vocal cadence was so spot on and so easy to listen to. We got to figure something out.
Yep, drew me in.
Got to figure something out. So last thing, as we wrap things up, is I wanted to ask you about how it's been going. So this is development talk now.
Yep.
On to the development, and how's it going? How have the meetings been, and how many have you done so far in total with planning? It's all planning commissioners at this point, right?
Yep. So the last advice that we gave 2 weeks ago, we met with one city council person, and he said, meet with all of them, get quotes, see what they say.
Yep, and actually see if you can get their quotes and be able to have them ready for when you go to present your work.
So I've met with all but 2. So I've met with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll meet with 1 coming up here. That's my other meeting today. And it's been great, not only because everyone has loved it. And I thought that there'd be...
Everybody has loved what?
The project.
The project.
Yep. And even this last one, she interrupted during... Not really interrupting. It was a discussion just between me and her. And she's like, what I'm trying to see is... You know what? Your project might be nice and cool and awesome, but does it fit in the city? And if it with the city, and is it what the city wants? If it doesn't, then I don't really care about it. And then I thought like, oh, we're in trouble because everyone's been saying this is cool and nice and awesome.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't fit within, what she wants, but she did think it fit within the city because
of why?
Because basically, there's a whole bunch of young people that their only choices are Boulder or Denver. And I go, if our project was in Boulder, it'd be 600. And she's like, no, it'd be 800, 800,000. Yeah. And what was also cool about her, and she really liked that, you had an up yard, and that you have those amenities. She thought that was awesome. And she goes, I would want to move into one of these.
Awesome.
And she's a little bit older.
So when she said, I'm trying to see if this fits into the city.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to that? Physically, not just mentally. How did you? What did you say after that?
I said I pulled up a map of where it is, and I go, this is why I think it fits in. I go, there's low income housing right across the street. Then there's duplexes. Then there's nicer houses, and then there's bigger houses. And then I basically made the leap that it's a step up in progression, and it's a step up in progression towards the bigger street. So it makes sense logically.
Yeah.
And then she said, I would want to live in there. And I go, you know what? Every time I bring up the older demographic, which baby boomers, everyone honestly always shoots me down because it's stairs.
There's stairs.
Yep.
Because describe to everybody, we have how many
3 levels
of stairs? 3 levels of stairs.
Yep. And then a sky deck. I go, but it's different. It's different demographic in Colorado. I go, I think people will be surprised because I think 1 or 2 baby boomers will buy this.
I think so too.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're talking about like retirees, people that are downsizing.
Yep.
Yeah. People, because let's be honest. I mean, you keep hearing the old phrase, right? 60s to new 50, 50s to new 40. It's real. It's real because of Western medicine and the advances we're making. There are so many clients that I have had over the past 7 years that are exactly that. They are fit people that have taken care of themselves. They're wealthy, and they want to like kind of have a re-youthful retirement.
Yep. And she goes, I hike.
Exactly.
I hike up mountains.
Yeah, exactly. I hike, I bike, I do all these things.
Yep. And then she goes, what do you think about the low income housing that's across the street. Do you think that will hurt you? I go, I think other people think that, but I don't like that notion whatsoever, because I remember that they were trying to do it in another location in Longmont, and people, the neighbors all got up in arms. And
so the current neighbors have gotten up in arms about the low income that was going in.
And I go, to me,
aren't we after diversity?
Again, and I'm not afraid of that. And also maybe with this younger generation too, they don't care as much. And I don't think that we do as much. And I said, also, if it would have looked like the projects, then I would have cared. But the building actually looks pretty good to the other side.
Yeah, the building that's going up next to ours. Yeah.
Yep. And then she chimed in and she's like, "Well, you lived in New York. It's a whole mix there, and everyone loves that." I'm like, exactly.
People love New York.
Yeah.
It's the greatest city in the world.
So I bet you some people will say it, and it's the people that weren't going to move there anyways. And then I bet you there's people who moved in, and if you said, "Hey, there's low income housing over there," they'd look at you like, "Are you trying to make a point? What are you trying to like?"
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Just look at you. Am I not supposed to live here now? Because
they
got a park over there. It seems kind of nice.
Nice retaining wall.
Yeah, nice retaining.
We love the retaining wall.
Yeah.
Cool.
So and then the surprise, besides the surprise that everyone loves it, is that we always talk about something else. And I refrained myself about talking about open space this time. As Jason said, I did a good job.
Because you have been bringing it up?
Only on one other occasion.
Oh.
And the lady, and it got us on a good discussion about, this is where there was a church and they were doing all that, blah, blah. But she goes, "Are you looking at any other projects or properties?"
Oh.
And I basically told her I said yes, and I go, but what I think is also, I actually kind of think it's, I don't want to say morally wrong, but something that just doesn't jive well with me is that if you want to buy a new house.
Who is calling you?
That's Alex Tingsley. He's supposed to be here in 2 minutes, and
here's the mute button.
Yeah.
Hit the function now.
You're right there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So
what bugs you is what? Sorry?
Is basically if you want a neighborhood with kids and you don't want to buy an old house, you have to buy the developer's house.
At this point in the Colorado economy.
Yep.
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
Totally agreed. She thought there should be, and then she was taking down notes and she said, "Hey, you need to meet with the urban planner." And what I'm getting at is that all these people, whatever we've discussed, and even going outside the realm of this development, has all been like, "Yeah, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea." So if we're ever in front of the city board and bringing up an idea, one, we know everyone. And they'll already have positive things and say, "Hey, I think this idea." And it might be like, every time I talk to this kid, seems like we're on the same page.
We're all on the same page. We're all on the same page. Yeah. So. No, this is great. I think one of the things I'm really hopeful for by the end of this whole development project is A, obviously successful, but B, and more importantly, is that now we've got this local network of everybody who's involved with the planning of our community and the greater community beyond, and we actually have some clout to go in there and respect to really try to enhance and meet the needs of people like you said. If you want to go into a nice family neighborhood, this is what you got to do. So how do we get there from here in the discussion with those type of people? Will be great. So how many other is this? Was that kind of the big one that you talked to, and it was just kind of the same feedback all over and over again?
Yep.
Same kind of questions.
Yep.
This time you're just gonna knock it out of the park too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you guys next week.